Shanta, yeah, okay, great.
So today is Ekadashi in the UK. Jai Shri Guru Gaura Gandharvi Ka Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Shri Narayana Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Vaibhavpuri Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakshak Shri Ram Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Leela Krishna Pada Stotra Satya Shri Srimad Bhakti Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Shila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Shila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Ram Shri Raj Shamanandi Prabhu Jai ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhattu Gana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasu Vinay Sadhu Swami ki Jai. Prem Se Kavar Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Antavir Mayapur Shri Antavir Koladvir Janudvir Moda Drumadvir Rudradvir Prabhakar Shri Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Shri Shamakund Ranakan Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Maharaj Ji ki Jai. Charya Sampradaya ki Jai. Narsingha Bhagwan ki Jai. Bhaktavraj Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Samagata Bhaktavrinda ki Jai. Shri Guru Premanande. So today's Ekadashi here in the UK. So I would like to sing a song for the Vaishnavas. So I'm going to sing Thakur Vaishnav Gan by Shri Das Thakur, page 43 in the small songbook. Thakur Vaishnava Gan Koriye Nivedan Thakur Vaishnava Gan Koriye Nivedan Moro Radhama Turachan Moro Radhama Turachan Daruna Saranidhi Tahe Dubai Vidhi Daruna Saranidhi Tahe Dubai Vidhi Keshe Dhari More Karo Para Keshe Dhari More Karo Para Vidhi Bado Balaban Na Shune Dharma Gyan Sadai Karama Pase Bandhe Sadai Karama Pase Bandhe Na dekhi taranales Jata dekhi sabakles Na dekhi taranales Jata dekhi sabakles Anadhaka dare teni kande Anadhaka dare গঞ্জে সদাই করম পাশে গঞ্জে কাম ক্রোধ লোভ মোহ মদয়াভিমানসহ কাম ক্রোধ লোভ মোহ মদয়াভিমানসহ अपनयपनस्तने ताने अपनयपनस्तने ताने अच्छनय मरमान धीरे जनयन्द जान अच्छनय मरमान धीरे जनयन्द जान सुपत विपत नहीं जाने सुपत विपत नहीं जाने सुपत विपत नहीं जाने सुपत विपत नहीं जाने नालो हिनु सतामतो आसते माती नोचितो नालो हिनु सतामतो आसते माती नोचितो तू अपाय न करिनु आशा तू अपाय न करिनु आशा नरोत्तमा दासे कोई देखे सुनी लागे भाई नरोत्तमा दासे कोई देखे सुनी लागे भाई ताराई आलह निज पाशा ताराई आलह निज पाशा ठाकुर वैष्णव कोरे निवेदन मोबरया धामा दुराचार मोबरया धामा दुराचार दारुणा संसार निधि ताहे दुबा किलो विधि कैसे धोरी मोरे करो कैसे धोरी मोरे करो जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Thank you.
Dandavat Didi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the volume is a little bit low.
Thank you so much for your beautiful bhajan. I don't know if I've said it before, but when I hear your bhajan, it's like I get transported to the Ganges in Navadvip, and I feel like it's just coming to that point of dusk, and the heat of the sun is abating, and there's a cool breeze, and some villagers are on the beach, and they're lighting the candles and some firewood, and they're doing some worship of their shalagram, or some worship of Mahaprabhu. And I'm looking around and I'm feeling like I'm in that eternal Dham, and I can feel underneath my feet the very earth upon which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda walked and preached and lived. And so I feel very connected. So and I can feel also, I can hear the clinks of the boats, because the boats have stopped operating across the Ganges because it's getting dark and everything is cooling down and it's becoming very meditative. So much appreciated, Nalini. And hopefully you can see us out as well. We've got today is I have to confess, I have something. I thought I had a disease called Sankirtan anxiety syndrome, otherwise known as SAD, which means that you organize a Sankirtan, you turn up, and you don't know if anyone else is going to turn up. So it might just be you on your own. And then I realized I have something called DAS, which is devotee anxiety syndrome, where you come up with a program and you log on quarter hour before and you wonder if anyone else is going to log on. So as everybody starts logging on and familiar faces come, my face gets more smiley as I get completely relieved that I'm not going to be on this thing on my own. So thank you. It's very beautiful. I'll just invoke before I make any further comments. Vanchikalpaturbhischa, Kripasindu evacha, Patitanam Pavenabhyo, Vaishnavabhyo Namanama, Om Agyan Tinamandasya, Gyanjana Salakaya, Chakshur Militam Yena, Tashmai Shri Guru Namaha, Trinada Pisunichana, Tarora Pisahishnana, Amanina Manadina, Kirtini Sadahari, Tatinukam Pamsu Samik Shamano, Bunjana Vitmakitam Vipakam, Hitfakaku Bivididam Namaste, Jivato Mukti Sadaya Bak, Vachavigam Manashak, Krodavigam, Jivavigam Udaro Pashavigam, Etangviganyo Vishaheta Dira, Savamapinam Pritivim Sashishyat, Anya Blasta Sunyam Gyan Kamadyanavritam, Anukalenya Krishna Shiranam, Bhakti Uttamam, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadata Shivasdi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams, my beautiful godmothers and godfathers, god uncles, god aunties, god brothers and sisters, cousins and first cousins, second cousins, god daughters, god sons, and god nephews and nieces. This is our first program at 8 p.m. UK time, because we want to reach out to the great island of the devotees of Hawaii. We want to reach out to the west coast of North America, that being the United States and Canada. We want to reach out also to Australia and New Zealand and invite the beautiful Pushpanjalis of our beloved Srila Gurudev. And one thing I get so much benefit from, yes, Dandavat pranams to America and Aussies and New Zealand and Canadians. One thing I have to say is, and I feel this greatly, when somebody honors Srila Gurudev from their subjective reality, their subjective consciousness, even though their reality and their relationship is evidently different than mine, it brings me so much closer to Srila Gurudev. But I also want to say, because we're not that far away from Guru Pranim, a couple of months away, but that is also the case when I see someone else dedicated to their Guru. When somebody is dedicated to their Guru, whether that be Siddhanti Maharaj or Madhav Maharaj or Bon Maharaj, or a Guru outside of our immediate lineage, it makes me feel so like, oh, what they're relishing, I also relish in a different way. This whole principle of Guru Tattva and this beautiful taste we have with Guru, we're so fortunate, because this is really what sparks our devotional practice and our devotional enthusiasm. So tonight, as is my strange eccentricity, I shall give you the time that we are on this entire program of 64 programs. We're on program 33, which means in a man, or I should say these days to be politically correct, which of course I'm not, a woman day. We are at 12:23 p.m. But if you like to operate in the day of Brahma, which I find very practical for everyday purposes, we are in the we're in the 8th Manu, and we're in the 15th Chatur Yuga. We're in the Treta Yuga, and we are 108,000 years into that Yuga. So I hope that helps your bhakti. I would like to welcome tonight. We have a beautiful lineup tonight. We have Krishna Prema Dasa and Srimati Manjari Didi, both from one of my favorite cities in the world, Vancouver, where I've never met anyone in Vancouver that's not nice. They all seem really nice. I don't know how they do it, but it's the nicest place on the planet. And we also have, although we haven't found him yet, but hopefully we can get through to him, we had Sriman Achyuta Krsna lined up, and hopefully we can reach him in time. Have you found him yet, Sham?
I think he has another name on screen.
He might be
Yeah, I apologize. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Ah, there you are. Fantastic.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams to everyone. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is my son's computer that I'm using, and that's his name that's popping up on there.
Fantastic. You were just tricking us and giving us some anxiety, which is nice. We like that. It keeps us alive. You know, it's late in the UK, even later in Holland. So this is keeping us very on the ball.
Perfect.
So I will. I'll introduce you, Prabhu.
Yep.
So Achyuta Krsna Dasa. He actually, this is very interesting for me because I've experienced that devotees that haven't met Narayan Maharaj seem to have some quite magical connection with him, even though they may not have met him. Or I've met devotees who have met him no times and just got initiated on Skype, or have come to our Sangha after Gurudev disappeared and do an incredible seva. So this is very interesting and very, very beautiful, very, very dear to my heart to introduce you, Prabhu. I'm told you met the devotees in 2012, and you took Harinam and Diksha from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj, who I met, who is an incredible personality. We were very fortunate to have his association. You worked on this Prabhu has worked on the revised version of the Ratha Yatra book, has been donating to GVP, has served the Badger Festival, and also has the relishable experience of serving our beautiful Srimati Shamarani Didi. So, Achyuta Prabhu, I welcome you with a warm embrace, and the audience is very sweet. No one bites on this, no one bites at all. Everybody's very sweet. They just want you to share your heart. So
that's perfect.
Over to you. Oh, and you're from Los Angeles. I forgot to say you're coming in from LA.
Yeah, I'm a little south of Los Angeles, closer to. If any of you have visited the U.S. And if you have been to the beautiful Sri Panchatattva Mandir in Laguna Beach, I'm very close to that temple. It was during Srila Prabhupada's time. It was called New Jharkhand. But it's one of the only temples in the U.S. that has deities of Sri Panchatattva.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I just want to make an offering to Srila Narayan, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj before I start. So I'm just going to sing a bhajan for him before we go. Okay. So the bhajan is Suniyache Sadhu Mukhe by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Suniyache sadhu mukhe bole sarva jana परिवारा सबे मिली वांछा पूर्णा करो हमारा रूपा कृपा जेनो हम प्रति आया श्री रूप कृपा जेनो हम प्रति आया से पदाश्रय जरा से महाशया से पदाश्रय जरा से महाशया प्रभु लोकनाथ कबे संगे लया जाबे श्री रूपरा पद पद्मा मोरे समर्पिवे श्री रूप पद पद्मा मोरे समर्पिवे हेनो की ओरिबे मोरा धर्म सखी गाने हेनो की ओरिबे मोरा धर्म सखी गाने अनुगत नारोतमे ओरिबे शासने अनुगत नारोतमे ओरिबे शासने जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर प्रभु है प्रभु है प्रभु है प्रभु है. So this bhajan I sang for a couple of reasons. One because you know, our very dear Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj had a lot of affection for Sri Rupa Goswami, and because adopting the mood of Sri Rupa Goswami, you know, he gave us so many different literatures, so many different books, like Ujjwal Nilamani and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then later on, you know, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's adaptation of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. So he had a lot of focus on giving very high literatures from Srila Rupa Goswami to us. And also remember very fondly this beautiful song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, which he you know, had one of his disciples sing for Srila Prabhupada as he was leaving the world. So we know that he was Rupa Goswami is very dear to him. So I just wanted to pay him my obeisances via this bhajan. So I know that I have a short period of time here. So what I did is I tried to jot down some of the thoughts I had in my mind about Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. So I'm going to take a little bit of a detour so you get a little bit of taste of, you know, how I got to know Maharaj. So my spiritual journey started as a young child, and initially, you know, I was attracted to Sri Ram, who was worshipped very fondly in my family growing up. And occasionally, you know, my family would take me to the ISKCON temple in my hometown, Mumbai. And so I went to Sri Radha Ras Bihari Ji's temple there. And I remember my first image as a child was walking in there and seeing the murtis of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bombay Temple is unique because it's one of those temples where the murtis are directly facing the deities, and I've not seen that in a lot of other temples. So when I first saw them, my impression was, these are real people, and they're like super serious and looking at the deities. But that left, that temple left a lasting impression on me. And then as a teenager, I started reading some small books by Srila Prabhupada. Later on in my life, I settled in the U.S. and I went to the Sri Panchatattva temple here in Laguna Beach, and I started taking some strides in Krishna consciousness. There was sadhu sang, there was hari katha, there was prasadam, and there was serving the devotees, which comes as a part of being part of a sangha. So I started to look upon some of the gurus in ISKCON, and one time, in fact, I even walked up to one of them who really inspired me and still inspires me. But for one reason or the other, someone intervened, and it was just not a very pleasant exchange at that point, and I just took it as a sign. So thereafter, some other unfortunate things happened. A devotee was not treated well, and that was it for me. I just stopped visiting the temple, and for a long time, I just was spiritually lost. I was not. I didn't see the a lot of the teachings translate into behaviors, and I was just disappointed and not sure where I want to go next. So that happened. That continued for several months, and we have a festival here called Bhakti Fest in the U.S. And my wife actually recommended that I go there, and maybe I will meet some other people. Maybe there'll be some other awakening, something new. So I went there, and I was very fortunate. I actually met some disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj for the first time. One of the first disciples I met was Basanti Didi and Krishnamai Didi, and I was just blown away by their simplicity, and they were so sweet and so approachable, and they were not pushy. They were not trying to impress me about anything. But as they say, once burned, twice shy. So I was taking it easy. I was taking my time. But as I glanced through the book table, I noticed the high quality of the publications, and I was not sure if I should pick anything up. But then I asked her what she recommends, and she realized my mood, and she recommended that I take a book called Our Eternal Nature. And it's a very small book, and for me, it was enough to give me a sense of what is this sangha about, and what is Maharaj's style, and so on and so forth. So I went back to my hotel, and I read the book, and I was amazed at Narayan Maharaj's ability to decipher scriptures and to put things across with such a easy relationship to the soul and our existence. And while reading that book, I felt that deep spiritual connection with Maharaj for the first time. It was like an existential fire had just been fed all over again. So I returned back the next day, and I went ahead and got some more books. And again, I was met with a lot of simplicity. There was no, there was no big deal made out of anything. And so it made me wonder, who are these devotees? Who are these people that their minds are so peaceful and they're so full of love? And above and beyond that, who is this great soul that has purified their hearts? And because I was in need of sangha, I was wondering, will they accept me? Would I have to break in before I earn their association? What would I have to do? So these were some of the thoughts that were going on in my mind. And I was there at the fest for 4 or 5 days, and every day I would come back. And sometimes we ended up doing some kirtan together. And as I associated with these devotees, they engaged me with Srimati Shamrani Didi. And I was given the opportunity thereafter to associate with them and to help with the Rath Yatra book, where I worked with Vajanti Mala Didi in Vrindavan, and with Madhukar Das Prabhu as well. And in the process of working on that book, I actually read the book very thoroughly. It's a different thing when you're trying to translate and you're trying to help in that process. So now you really need to be in the details, right? So I read that book, and I learned so much about the intimate pastimes of Sri Neelamadhav, the mood of the gopis, wanting to take Krishna from Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. And Maharaj elaborated extensively in the book on the external and internal reasons for the appearance of the deities. So all this nectarian Harikatha, it deeply affected me. And I would say that, the best way to get Maharaj's mercy was to really serve him through his disciples. And this is when I first started experiencing, how merciful Maharaj is. And although I have never met Gurudev in his manifest pastimes, I have since then, been exposed to him through his books and his disciples, and through many other pure devotees that I met because I knew his disciples, including my Param Pujya Diksha Guru and Harinam Guru, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj, who I met because of the grace of Srimati Shamrani Didi. She introduced me to him. And I met Maharaj several times and waited over the years until Maharaj was really in a position where he was offering Harinam and Diksha. Had it not been for Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada and Srimati Shamrani Didi, I don't think I would have received the mercy of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav Guru. And through Srila Gurudev, I learned a lot about myself. I learned to analyze my own behavior and learned many lessons on Vaishnav etiquette from his Harmony book, which too, I worked briefly with Shamrani Didi. She was doing a presentation for Europe, where they go on preaching tours in the past. So I helped her with making that presentation, and again, it really helped me understand Maharaj's mood. How he focuses on avoiding Vaishnava Aprad and avoiding criticizing Vaishnavas and in particular, and anybody out there. And in the process, I got to link his mood with the mood of my Gurudev, which is very, very, very aligned, of course. My Gurudev calls him his Sat Tirtha Bhrata, his god brother. So they had a very close relationship, and so there is no there is no surprise then that that their moods are aligned as well. I got to know about Srila Gurudev's intense love for his disciples, by interacting with them. He has affected his disciples so deeply, his mamata, his reproach, his nectarian katha, the kirtans that were very dear to him. So I started to memorize and learn the kirtans that were very dear to him, like Sri Nandanandanashtakam and Sri Radhe Jai Jai Madhav Daite, or Rajajana Manasukakari, right? I was all over those kirtans, and lo behold, suddenly I was reading kirtans by Srila Narottam Das Thakur and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and I was so immersed in them. So all of this kripa is manifest because of Maharaj and his disciples, who have so much love for the Vaishnavas. After memorizing these kirtans and the words of the acharyas, they start to enter your heart, and you pray that the same mood that these acharyas have in their heart come to you. So Srimati Shamrani Didi says, may your words be my words, may your heart be my heart, right? So someday we hope that the words of the acharyas be our words, and then those words really manifest in our heart, and they also manifest in our actions, that we get inspired by them. So my eagerness to meet Gurudev as a process of all these developments was growing by the day, but I knew I had missed the opportunity. I knew I was in a relationship of separation with Maharaj. And the more mercy I got from him, the more I missed him. And there were times when I cried. And one day in my meditation, he appeared with Srila Prabhupada. And one time he appeared in a dream. He was seated on this beautiful throne like a king. And there was this voice that introduced me to him. And it was just beautiful. I just fell at his feet, and that's all I remember. Waking up very, very, very happy and blissful that I finally got to meet him. So I know that my love for Srila Prabhupada has grown even more thanks to Srila Narayan Maharaj. And when I learned about the hardships and the censorship that he faced, in his endeavor to help some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada to take them to the next level, to develop and advance them, my respect for him grew even more. And there was almost this feeling of frustration, why he was treated like that. Why would a pure devotee be blasphemed? And I knew that there was a mercy, that I was no longer in the midst of devotees who had committed such heavy aparadh towards him. And because of, and I feel like, it was Srila Prabhupada's mercy that I got to meet Maharaj through his books and his disciples. And I saw reflections of the same selflessness that Maharaj had in my own Gurudev, who at the age of 90, he gave up his association with Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math to serve his Gurudev, his Gurudev's mood. And I feel like such fearless Vaishnavas are really the wealth of our lives. If we can be associating with them, their words, there's no doubt that we'll be carried across this material ocean. Only they can deliver us from the chains of Maya, which are so powerful. Thanks to my Guru Parampara, I'm developing some taste for Harinam, and I feel confident about my spiritual journey going forward. Srila Gurudev has spent gallons of blood to make temples in the hearts of his disciples and so many devotees who are reading his books. And I always remember Maharaj's words where he says, he's closer to us than the air we breathe. That's all. I always remember that whenever I'm feeling down, or I feel like I'm not making progress, or I'm doing things that are opposed to bhakti, right? And he's always nourishing my consciousness through his divine Hari Katha, which I try to listen as much as I can. Thanks to some of the restored audios, files that are now available, and through many other older files in his books. So I'm very thankful to his disciples and to everybody who's been associated with the audiobook seva. I think you guys have done a great job at bringing Maharaj to the masses. And Maharaj is, all this is helping nourish my consciousness through his katha, and giving me the opportunity to reflect on my anarthas. Whether I visit Maharaj's Pushpa Samadhi in Badger, or his Sakshat Samadhi in Sridham Mayapur, I've been to his room in Badger, in Puri, in Vrindavan. I feel him, I miss him, and I embrace the separation in the hope that one day we'll meet eternally, and we'll associate, and we'll do bhajan, we'll do Harikatha, and when he love me, reproach me, and accept me. So I'm thankful for the love of his disciples, which has been unconditional, pure, and uplifting. I can never repay their debt. And my dear Guru, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, would often quote the words of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, saying, Vaishnav Charitra Sarvata Pavitra. The character of a Vaishnav is always holy and pure and auspicious. And another favorite quote which I want to use from Maharaj is, Jai Vaishnav Bhajile Achyuta Krsna Pai, Se Vaishnava Puja Hoite Bada Aranai. So this is from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Antya Khanda, chapter 4, verse 357. And the translation is, by serving the lotus feet of Vaishnavas, one attains the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, who is Achintya, or inconceivable. And then there is no greater sadhan than this. It is impossible to approach the transcendental Lord through the means of the material senses. In the conditioned stage in which the jiva is bound by many material desires, he cannot think about the Achintya Krishna with his mind, nor can he see him with his eyes. He becomes qualified to attain the inconceivable Lord's mercy only after he takes the complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. So Srila Gurudev gave us Vraja Bhakti. He expounded extensively on the message of the Acharyas, and he did so without examining our qualifications. His only requirement was firm faith and nishtha in Sri Guru and transcendental greed, right? Api lolyam mul, what's that verse? Api lolyam mulyam ekalam, right? When there's only one cost for achieving that transcendental love, that lolyam, the greed, to achieve divine love. So if we examine Srila Gurudev's Bhagavad Gita, right, which I'm a big fan of, and I have a whole box sitting here in my house, and if I have any opportunity, I give it out to anybody I can. But you know, I feel like it's the best Bhagavad Gita commentary that I've come across. You know, Maharaj so skillfully he has combined commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur along with his own divine commentaries. And it leaves although the Bhagavad Gita can you know, lead one towards Vedi Bhakti, but Maharaj has done this invaluable seva for all Vaishnavas, where he has built that impregnable bridge between Vedi Bhakti to Raganuga Bhakti. Even while reading you know, the Bhagavad Gita, you know, one gets a sense for that, and one can only hope and imagine, you know, what it'd be to take the next level up, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's made these beautiful commentaries available, and I think he's promoting the transcendental greed amongst all of us. He has worked tirelessly over the years. I remember our Guru Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, once approached Sri Narayan Maharaj and said, "Maharaj, your Hindi is just amazing, and you know, you should really be preaching extensively, because you are such a master communicator with the language." And Maharaj had said that, you know, he would love to, but at that point he was having some health issues. So my Gurudev actually offered to take him up to Kolkata, and he introduced him to a doctor. And after he started taking a different diet and medication, and the diet was primarily, I believe, rice and raw bananas. So he was taking a very austere diet. After that, his health improved a lot, and he actually came back to Gurudev and said, you know, now I'm going to go out and start preaching with all my power. So there was a very sweet relationship between them. And again, you know, going back to the so many different books that are available to us thanks to Maharaj. You know, there's Jayavadharm, the Madhurya Kadambini is out now, but it was available in Hindi. The Rath Yatra book, the Prem Samputa, Bhajan Rahasya, Gopi Geet, I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, again, the devotees, due to their unlimited mercy, you know, they descend to the platform on which we currently stand, so that we can relate to them and associate with them and purify our consciousness. By this, you know, one day we can directly associate with Bhagwan and serve him. So this is why Krishna has announced in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm going to quote from the 11th canto, chapter 19, verse 21. Adara pancharayam sarvangir abhivandanam madbhakta pujya vyadika sarva bhuteshu manmate. Here Krishna says, only those who serve my dear devotees with great love and offer themselves completely through mind, body, and words are capable of pleasing me completely. Mad Bhakta Pujya Abhyadika. Worshipping, that is serving, the lotus feet of my devotees is greatly superior to serving me directly. So again, you know, I'm quoting my Gurudev, although it is impossible for us to serve the lotus feet of Bhagwan in our present condition, his devotees are capable of performing such service, and they can therefore engage us in the service by bringing our offerings directly to him. Furthermore, the devotees know well the likes and dislikes of Bhagwan, even more so than Bhagwan himself. In reality, it is only through the devotees that we can serve the Lord. But how can we serve the Lord, the feet of such personalities after their disappearance from the vision of this world? Well, we can serve them by remembering them, by contemplating and adopting their highly exemplary conduct, and by sharing and distributing their teachings to others, so that the others also may establish a relationship with them. With that, I would, you know, like to take a pause here and, you know, thank everyone for including me on this call, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Achyuta Krsna. Thank you so much. That was thank you firstly for trusting us with a very tender expression of your heart's journey, especially at the beginning when you were talking about the disappointment with devotees in ISKCON. I felt that sense of wilderness that you must have felt as you were expressing that. And I'm familiar with the Bhakti Festival because I know Vasanti and Shamrani so well, and I know their mood. Vasanti's mood is so engaging, and I think you used the word several times, the simplicity of heart. It's very, very attractive and very easy to feel peaceful when you're around that type of association. And I think it really also teaches us all how we behave is an example. We are ambassadors for our gurus. So how we behave, whether someone knows that Narayan Maharaj or Srila Bharati Maharaj is our guru or not, it doesn't matter. We are ambassadors every minute of the day for our gurus. And it was very sweet that you, I didn't know that you served with Vajanti Mala, because she lives in my apartment in Vrindavan.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm very close to her. In fact, I read with her this morning. I've been reading Chaitanya Charitamrita with her for 4 years. And she's
Nice.
absolutely total diamond. I really appreciated how you touched on the power of Gurudev's books, because Gurudev was very, very, very aware of how his spirit and his teachings and his particular speciality would be carried through his extraordinary books. And actually, in many ways, the barriers, the so-called barriers between ISKCON and Gaudiya Math and ISKCON and our Sangha, I don't really see these barriers. People talk about these barriers. They're coming down, they're crashing down all the time, because these books are circulating everywhere. And when people read these books, if they have any devotional proclivity within them, they can see how true they are, how they resonate with the heart. And his harmony book is a very, very special book because it's so incredibly practical. It helps us in our day-to-day behavior. You know, it's important to have the high topics, understand the goal, how Gurudev is so expert at defining our goal of Manjari Bhav, but also so expert at giving us very basic instructions like don't criticize, which seems like an easy thing to do, but unless you repeat and repeat and repeat it, this can easily destroy our bhakti. I wanted to emphasize something you said, and in some ways I'm saying this for myself, but I'm saying it for everybody here. When we perform kirtan or we read a book, then to go in our mind to the writer of the book and ask for his mood to be imbibed in our hearts is essential. Like this morning, I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita with Vajanti Mala, who you mentioned, and about 5 minutes into the reading, I suddenly remembered, oh, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I must pray to him that he can imbibe something of that mood of Mahaprabhu, of his relationship with Mahaprabhu in me as I read the book. And I immediately felt a shift in that consciousness. So I think that point you made, I'd like to emphasize, because I think it really helps. This is all about connection. As Krishna Kanta said during our 59-hour glorification of Srila Gurudev, Krishna consciousness is not a religion, it's a relationship. And how do you have relationship? Sambandha, connection. And how do you get connection? By consciously connecting ourselves to these manifestly merciful personalities who are willing and ready and wanting, like Nityananda Prabhu Shakti that they are, to bestow as much mercy on us as possible. All we have to do is wave our hand and say, please throw that bucket of pure water on our head. You know, that's all we have to ask for, and it will come. And this is what you were emphasizing. And one last thing I thought was very beautiful in what you said was how he would accept us without examining our qualifications. And something I repeat quite often to myself as much as anything else is that the first lesson in humility is that we're not qualified. We're not qualified for any of this bhakti. But the second lesson of humility is it actually doesn't matter we're not qualified, because as long as we have that nishtha you were talking about in Guru, in Srila Narayan Maharaj and Srila Bharati Maharaj, as long as we have that faith that they can transport us across the river of Maya, across the ocean of Maya. We don't have to have faith in ourselves. We just have to have faith in them. And it doesn't matter we're not qualified, because we are qualified because they say we are. We're qualified because they have invited us on the boat of bhakti. That's all we need. We don't have to worry about are we a good or a bad person? am I guilty of this? Am I not guilty of this? We just have to follow Guru, have that Guru Nishta, and we will get to the other side. We keep it very simple, and this is what the Guru relationship is all about. So, Prabhu, thank you for getting to the heart of the matter, bringing me closer to Srila Gurudev. That was a really beautiful offering, and I hope you can stay for the rest of the program. It's all the west coast of America. We're just going a bit north now to Vancouver, and we're going to hear from Shriman Krishna Prem Dasa, who he is from Vancouver in British Columbia. As I said earlier, one of my favorite cities in the world. Everybody seems very kind there. Very sattvic city, actually. At the age of 18, he went over to India. He surrendered to Srila Gurudev fully, and he was a brahmachari under Premananda Prabhu, or Prabhuji's guidance, for 8 years. And Premananda was very important in my evolution as a devotee. Meeting him was like having my own mother in the mutt. He's always so personal and so warm and so beautiful. And I'm told, Prabhu, you're a very skillful Madanga player. So I'll bear that in mind. So please, a very warm welcome to the Pushpanjali, to Gurudev's memories. Please share your heart fully and without any, don't hold back. We're eager to hear your glorification, Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prams to all the devotees here present to remember Srila Gurudev. This very auspicious, wonderful time that we can get together and remember Srila Gurudev. It's truly an honor to be here. And myself, thank you, Prabhu Ji, for giving a little introduction about myself and my time in India and my surrender to Srila Gurudev. It was something that I am always contemplating. My life has forever been changed from the time in the moment that I came into touch with Srila Gurudev. So I'll just quickly offer some Mangala Charan and say some few words, because I haven't actually prepared proper Puspanjali, but please bear with me. Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramiritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vandeham Shri Guru Varam Shri Rupanuga Pravaram Brajarasa Rasikam Cha Narayanam Tam Prapanam Shri Guru Charanam Bande Vinoda Prishta Bhutale Rupanuga Bhaktinam Cha Kripa Murti Narayanam Namashishtam Manamapi Shachi Putra Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrachim Ruparim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavashyam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Guru Tamnatosmi Mancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giradhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. So again, I'll try to be a little bit more informal with memories of Srila Gurudev. To be honest, when I think about my current situation and the physical presence that I had with Srila Gurudev was very minimal. I came at I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and I surrendered to Srila Gurudev, and I was able to be in some physical proximity and able to come to Badger, California, Vancouver, Canada. So I'll just jump to this one. So in 2008, Srila Gurudev Shanarayan Maharaj came to Vancouver, Canada, where I was able to take his darshan for the very first time. And growing up in Vancouver and also Sharanagati village, Canada, I had come in touch with Srila Gurudev's Sangha. His preachers, Shamrani Mataji, Shripad Ashram Maharaj had come up there, Aranya Maharaj, Prem Prayojan, Achyuta Didi, Kishore Mahansa Devi. So much mercy was there from young age. But it was only, yeah, growing up in the ISKCON community, then some politics were there, and then moving to Vancouver and growing up and living beside the ISKCON temple, I was able to develop greed to, come in touch with Srila Narayan Raj and Srila Gurudev, and I tried to learn a little bit of Mridanga for that to be of a service. And so then in 2008, Srila Gurudev came to Vancouver and impressed me so much, actually. I remember this first darshan that we went to the Vedic Lakshmi Narayan Mandir. And at that time, Srila Gurudev came, and all of a sudden there was just so many devotees present, and many devotees of Srila Narayan Raj, of Srila Gurudev's Sangha, had come from California and from America to see Srila Gurudev in Vancouver, as well as various other devotees from Vancouver that had not seen in a long time. So Srila Gurudev had that capacity, that attraction. We know this. Everywhere he went, he attracted so many devotees to hear the Bhagavatam. So at that time, Srila Gurudev started his Harikatha with remembering the sages of Naimisharanya when they assembled to hear the Bhagavatam. And Srila Gurudev loves to tell this story. So he told this story of how the sages there, and they were worried what would be the future for the Kali Yuga, for the people of Kali Yuga. They have such short attention spans and like this. So the remedy, the cure, was to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam in that assembly. And so Srila Gurudev was able to go into that discussion and discuss what is it that really brings the paramartic wealth, the wealth of the souls of the jivas to grow. So I personally just remember it at that time, being physically present in front of Srila Gurudev, that I had such a yearning, actually, just to see a pure devotee for the first time in my life and to take his darshan. And it was kind of me putting everything like, this has to be it. I have to become impressed by Maharaj here. So, but I remember listening to this katha and with some sincerity, and the words seemed to just enter into my ears and they cooled my heart. It was just, and also Gurudev at that time was speaking in Hindi. I did not know much any Hindi at that time. He spoke some Hindi and some English, but still, like the Harikatha touched my heart, and I felt really affected by Srila Gurudev's mercy at that time. And I recall after the lecture, my father, who has also had taken initiation from Srila Gurudev in some previous years, had introduced me to Srila Gurudev, and Srila Gurudev gave me, some affection at that time, some small words, and he said that he wanted to see me like soon. He wanted me, he said, to become a strong devotee like your father. And I was yearning for some blessings, some words from Srila Gurudev. So very easily, in just a few words, he was able to completely, he smashed my ego. he said, don't do anything nonsense, like don't meat eating, drinking, basic things, and to become strong devotee. So that at first was a kind of a smash to my ego. Then afterwards he said, I never eat meat, but then right afterwards he said, and I want you very soon. And just that alone touched my heart so much, actually. Like I was just broke down weeping, and I felt Srila Gurudev had me in his interest. So, I was able to luckily, join Srila Gurudev and take Harinam and initiation, Diksha initiation in Badger, California that year, 2008, on the Pandava Nirjala Kadashi. And I was able to travel with the Maharaj, Sripad Damodar Maharaj, and to travel to Europe for the first time in my life, and to come to Srila Gurudev's festivals in Italy. And then I was able to go to Turkey and Istanbul, and Srila Gurudev came there with all but the mercy of his preachers, his sannyasis. And it was just a life-changing experience to go from working, finishing school, to all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just on the tour with Srila Gurudev, and to see so many senior devotees, so many devotees very eloquently, giving Harikatha at all of these festivals. And it was such a life-changing experience that after coming to India, then seeing how Srila Gurudev ran his temples there, I was also quite impressed. And I remember, like, the following year, my father met Srila Gurudev in Badger, California, and he said, he was asking about me, Krishna Prem, and Srila Gurudev said, yes, he is under my control, like everything is taken care of. So but anyhow, in this so yes, and then in 2009, Srila Gurudev, just after Gur Purnim, I went to Bengal Prachar, West Bengal, and after that, Gur Purnim, and then after Gur Purnim, I went to Mathura, and then I was traveling again with Jiva Priya, who became Vishnu Swami, and Srila Gurudev, by mercy of Premananda Prabhu also, he kind of intervened and helped me get a saffron cloth. And Srila Gurudev, that was a very special moment I can share, Prabhu, and to the devotees, that I know that I had some understanding of what is this saffron cloth and what is its significance, and how Srila Gurudev is, sannyasi, and his particular, also his cloth is very like soft saffron. And in Mathura, Keshavji Gaudiya Mat, so I had arranged this cloth and dyed it, and then I'd given it to Srila Gurudev, and I asked him, I said, what is the meaning of the saffron cloth, Gurudev? And he said, oh, this is the color of Krishna Prem. So this is the color of Radharani's love, Anurag for Krishna. Therefore, that is why Mahaprabhu accepted this color. And he said, therefore, you can follow nicely and never associate with women and, progress in bhakti. I forget. So Srila Gurudev has been kind of everything in my life, in a sense that after joining the Mat and being with his devotees and brahmacharis who had been serving Srila Gurudev, I was able to witness their dedication and their utter surrender into Srila Gurudev's, his mood, his vani, his teachings, not only just cutting vegetables and cooking, but giving your mind and words in the service of Guru. And this is something that I've personally have lacked and procrastinated on in my spiritual life. The chance for devotees to glorify and to do kirtan. First, we have to hear Shravan and then do kirtan, and to please Guru and Krishna. But this was one big regret in my life, that even like those times I had with Srila Gurudev, I felt some more awe and reverence, actually, that I wasn't able to develop more personal relationship. I had some some little bit of fear, but respect for Gurudev, that he did touch my heart and change my heart to, you know, love and follow him and understand his mood. And that is something that, you know, I had come to understand hearing his Harikatha in his festivals, and also reading his books and also his audiobooks. Thank you to the publication team, and especially Sripad Sridandi Maharaj for that service. Those audiobooks have, you know, served me very well, in the sense that I was able to focus on seva and listen to Chaitanya Charitamrita, listen to Jaiva Dharma, Bhakti Rasayan, you know, while doing so much various services in India and abroad, menial services, you know, cooking, cleaning. But yeah, so my prayer really is in offering my heart, my Puspanjali to Srila Gurudev, is that I can develop substantial offerings of gratitude and Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of the devotees, and to always be in the Vaishnav Sangha that is there remembering Srila Narayan Maharaj, because Srila Gurudev, because Srila Gurudev is actually, he's, you know, directly bringing what Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give. And Srila Gurudev came to give that love of Radha and Krishna. So, and all those that have become in touch with Srila Narayan Maharaj have realized that to some degree and have felt that. I pray to the Vaishnavas that they will not kick me away, and they can help me get rid of, you know, my kutinati and this dupliciousness and any anarthas that are there, which we all have, and to not become duplicious, you know, and to really perform and represent his mission and the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because this is what's really pleasing the devotees and Gurudev. So, Prabhuji, I know you said the devotees in Canada are very nice, but I just want to say nice is actually coming from the word nescience. So this is correct, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, and this is so I'm here now in Canada with my sister Manjari. We're living here, and offer my respects. Dandava pranams. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhu. Actually, I said I wasn't actually just talking about devotees. I was talking about all the human beings I've met in Vancouver are really sweet. But maybe I was just on a lucky few days. I don't know. Prabhu, were you in Turkey in 2008?
Prabhu, I was that time.
I was there with you then.
Yes, I think that might have been first time I saw you then. Yes. And
I had a really funny experience with Gurudev that time. He was really the Leela would take too long, but yeah, he was really how would I say, it was a combination of teasing me and seducing me simultaneously. Of course, I was without any defenses, so he won again. But I remember that Turkey trip was great. It was really great.
If I could share one from that Turkey experience with Sripad Damodar Maharaj. We did morning walk there in Istanbul, and Srila Gurudev was finishing morning walk and going back to the car, and Damodar Maharaj told Srila Gurudev that there's this one Maharaj in Europe, he's preaching and he's giving some special like Siddha Pranali, maybe some, you know, whatever it is. And that, oh yes, very good, I'm also giving, you know, this mantra, Tornada Krishna, Torora Pishrishna. So Srila Gurudev would say this also many times as well. Like, this is a common verse. We need to be humble. We need to know this one. But I also remember at that time, Gurudev repeated the whole mantra, like the whole shloka. And I felt like it was just so endearing. It was also for, you know, for those there to hear it. Anyhow, yes, Prabhu, yeah, Turkey was, I think Srila Gurudev was also amused just seeing Turkey. I know that Srila Gurudev had his desire while he traveled from 1996 onward, that he wanted to laugh and enjoy his
Yes,
tours.
he said he had to laugh and cry once a day each.
Wow.
That's actually something I try to do. I try to learn from that. I think, and if you can laugh and cry at the same time, that's the best day. That's really amazing. But by the way, I have to correct something you said, Prabhu. You said that you were only doing menial service, but there's no such thing as menial service. All service done with the heart is of the highest and most beautiful order, like the Leela of the squirrel and Ram. It doesn't matter how quantitatively or externally, how small it seems. If it's done with intent and with love, and it's done with faith in Guru, then it's beautiful. Doesn't matter what it is. And I really related to the story you told about how Gurudev was speaking in Hindi, and yet he touched your heart, even though probably half of what he said, because if he was speaking half in Hindi, half in English, you wouldn't have been understanding him. And that reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Text 25. It's just such an amazing, you'll all know it, but these are all worth repeating. It says, "My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee." So that story you said about hearing him in Hindi reminds me of that most beautiful quote. I hate to put you on the spot like this, and please say no if it's asking too much. But would you be able to sing maybe a bhajan for Gurudev playing Madanga, so we can relish your? Because someone told me you're not from Vancouver. They said you're from Madanga Loka. So if you feel inspired, play a little something for us.
Prabhu, actually looking at two bhajans. There's one I would maybe I can run through, and then I can do like one Hare Krishna, like small, like 1-2
Beautiful.
mantras.
Whatever you're inspired. Beautiful.
Bhajan Gurudev Kabe Mor Sedina Habe. Thank you, Manjari. Gurudev Kabe Mor Sedina Habe. Manastira Kori Nirjane Boshia. Manastira Kori. I'll just run through it. Krishna Nama Gabo Jabe. Krishna Nama Gabo Jabe. Samsara Pukara Kane na Poshibe. Dehoro Gadure Rabe. Hare Krishna Bholi Gahite Gahite. Nayane Bhahibe Ora Dehete Pulaka Udita Hoibe Premete Koribe Bhora. Gada Gada Vani Mukhe Bhahiribe Kapibe Sharira Mama Garma Muhur Mumhu Vivarna Hoibe Stambita Pralaya Sa Dasha Kabe Habe Nirantara Nama Gabo Avesha rohiya deha jatra kori tomara karuna pavo. Gurudev Kave mora se dina habe. Gurudev Kave mora se dina habe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhuji, Jai Gurudev. But
that was so beautiful. Thank you for being spontaneous and offering that last bhajan. Very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
We're going to come to your sister in a moment. I'm just going to make 3 quick announcements. Today is Sunday, and around this time, in 2 days' time, in the UK, Nrsingadev will be appearing. Now, I would do a Nrsingadev Raw, but unfortunately, I live in an apartment. I'd probably wake everybody up. So I'm transmitting a Nrsinga Raw through the ether without saying anything. I love Nrsingadev. So we're going to be having the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev on Tuesday, starting at 6:15. We'll have Nrsinga Kavachas, and then at 6:30 we start the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 7. We're going through chapters 1 to 10, starting with Sriman Mukunda Prabhu. He'll do chapter 1, and then Vaikanas Maharaj will do chapters 2, 3, and 4. Nami Maharaj will be doing chapter 5, and then Ashram Maharaj chapter 6 and 7. And then Bhagavat Maharaj will be doing the crescendo, if you like, the operatic crescendo of that canto in chapter 8, where Hiranyakashipu gets excoriated by Nrsingadev, and then Shanta Maharaj will be finishing in chapters 9 and 10. So we're publishing it on all the various WhatsApp groups, and we would really love to have your Shravan, and your attendance would be wonderful. It's going to be a great evening. And the actual evening goes through Nrsingadev's appearance, which is at exactly 9 o'clock at night. So that will be about the time that Shanta Maharaj will be speaking. So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is that you may have heard, we are having World Sankirtan Day, also known as the International Day of Joy. And that's on July the 11th of this year, which is the same day as the Rath Yatra in Puri, in Jagannath, in India. And the goal is to have 108 Sankirtans happening around the world on the same day, all live streamed onto a single website. And so far, we've already got 30 cities signed up. So if you would like to organize a Sankirtan in your local town or city, or you know someone who you think would be excellent at doing so, I would be very grateful if you could let either Yashadari know, or Shamasundari in Holland, or myself. That would be really wonderful. It's going to be a great event, and hoping to make it an annual event. And the third announcement is just to remind you, next week we'll be back at the midday UK time. So it's switching every other week. We'll let you know by WhatsApp, of course, and by Telegram. Thanks to Rini for doing the Telegram announcements. Next week we'll be here at midday UK time, and then the week after that we'll be back to 8 p.m. But if there's anyone you know who you think would be wonderful at glorifying Srila Gurudev on this Pushpanjali, please again let Yashadari know, or Shamasundari know, or let me know, because that would be really wonderful to have that offering. So we're now going to move to our third and final speaker. I think we only have to, no. I think we only need to move about a foot, because our third speaker, I believe, is the sister of Krishna Prem, right? Is that right? Srimati Manjari Didi, also from Vancouver. She took Harinam from Srila Gurudev, and then took Diksha from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj, and was born as a devotee in the Sharanavati village, right? And again, a very, very warm welcome, Didi. And please offer us your Pushpanjali. And remember, it's a very friendly, very sweet family crowd. So don't be shy. Haribol, Dandavats.
We'll just do my my pranams. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhika Brahmane Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayani Tinamine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Madhurya Madhurya Ganeshtritam Param Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tvam Shirasha Namami Shri Randinam Bhakta Shiromanimscha Shri Krishna Parabja Ditaikridi Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasaram Narayanam Tvam Shirasha Namami Namam Vishnu Paraya Gaura Prishtaya Bhutale Shishima Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Tinamine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Kripai Kavita Yamaryada Rakshati Vaishnavanam Kripavalam Madhava Prishtakami Shri Bhakti Tam Bharati Mashrayamana. So Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So I offer my pranams to Srila Gurudev, my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. It's a really great honor to speak in front of everyone. I feel completely junior to everybody here, and yeah, especially to call myself a disciple of Srila Gurudev feels like a big stretch, but also, you know, an honor, almost like an affirmation. I was thinking today, you know, the more you say an affirmation, the more I feel like it comes true. So, yeah, definitely. I think, as you were saying at the beginning of this, there's different types of disciples, and just today they released one memory. I think his name is Gopi Janavallabha Prabhu, and he spoke about how he received Diksha, I think, from Srila Prabhupada from cassette. And then so yeah, I just yeah, that's kind of my situation. So it's why I feel kind of like yeah, just very junior, super junior. And then also I received Harinam from Gurudev in kind of a different way. So today I kind of want to tell that story and my relationship to Srila Gurudev. Krunamai told me we can talk about Srila Bharati Maharaj, so I'll try and share a little bit about that. And yeah, I feel like even my brothers, you know, first of all, he was nervous to speak Harikatha today. And then he, you know, he said he had very minimal experience. And then for me, I saw how nicely he spoke, so I feel more nervous now. And then on top of that, I have much less experience than he did, like just a small fraction. But somehow, you know, Gurudev is also transcendental. So hopefully I'm always hoping to remember that aspect of Srila Gurudev as well. His Vani and his Vapu is like transcendental and powerful, but also his Vani. So yeah, I was born in Sharanagati, some kind of mercy and blessing. And I don't know if I had Gurudev's darshan at that point. He came in 1996 and I was like maybe 3 years old. So I like to imagine I somehow was in his presence at that time. So I was fortunate, but I know my parents saw him at that time. And then yeah, I grew up in Sharanagati, Vancouver, near the Vancouver ISKCON temple later. Like my brother said, we had so much association of Gurudev Sangha when we were younger. Well, not so much, but enough that it was made quite an impression on me. I remember sitting in this temple room in Sharanagati, and Prema Prabhu was giving Harikatha, and Gurudev's moods just came through when he was around Maharaj. Gurudev's moods just came through these Vaishnavas so powerfully, like Vishaka Didi and Kishore Mohan Sudevi's kirtans, and you know, being raised around so many, like such a strong Vaishnav community, but it was just like, it was like color in life that I never experienced before. I remember hearing Rani Maharaj's classes like Radha and Krishna and Govardhan, and everything felt so just alive. And I don't think I ever really listened to a class before that. So it was very inspiring, even though I was in the back coloring. And then I think at that time, I also remember starting to learn bhajans from the songbook. We had these little cassette tapes. I think the Manjari Didi recorded them, and learning the Madhurastakam, I remember it was a really nice song. I got to sing it one time with our god sister Kunti. So yeah, that was like pretty much how my seed was planted with Srila Gurudev. There was some talk at one point he would come to Sharanagati, maybe even stay in our house there. And we were so kind of like fired up, all the young kids, like, oh yeah, he's gonna come and maybe he's like gonna fight with ISKCON. We thought like, oh, Gurudev's gonna win. We had this like simple mood, I remember as a child, but we had this rocking chair in our house. We envisioned Gurudev could come and sit there. It never ended up happening, but that was always like from my youth, I always felt like Gurudev was, you know, guru, like to me, you know, in our family. And in 2001, I think our father took Diksha from him and everything. And, you know, we just because of, yeah, our security or something, we never got to go to Badger Festival, but he always felt like our guru. Even living at this ISKCON temple, I remember one time I found a songbook in the entry of the temple, like in the closet, like someone had just hid it there or something. And I found this and I thought, oh, this is Gurudev's songbook. And I just brought it home. And it was always like Gurudev was our guru, and it was, you know, a nice thing. Then, yeah, so later in my life, we moved kind of away from the temple. There's Vancouver Island, and I went to high school there. Yeah, then 2008, Gurudev came. Our brother, yeah, that's when he stole Krishna Prem from us. And I remember this was like my main really memory with Gurudev physically, is just him walking into this temple, and there was crowds of people, and I never got introduced to him because I just didn't happen to be standing next to my father at that time, I guess. But I remember he came and I was surrounded by all these people. I don't think anyone I even really knew in that moment. And then all these Matajis were around me, and they all dove down to offer pranams, and somehow I knew, yeah, I better do that. And then I saw them when I was all down there, they're all just grabbing for Gurudev's feet. So I thought, oh yeah, I better do that. Like, that's smart. You know, and then I never really did that before in my life, like in ISKCON, although I saw, you know, devotees do that, or maybe I did that with maybe Arnya Maharaj anyway. So he touched Gurudev's lotus feet, and I stood up, and he just glanced at me for 1 second as he's walking and having his small interactions, and just his blue eyes. I always remember that moment. It's like, they say like one split second of, you know, association of a sadhu, and I felt like very exposed, you know. I was not like prepared to feel that, or not, you know, I don't know if I really understood who Srila Gurudev was, but I always remember this feeling I had when he looked at me for a second. I felt very like taken back, or like uncomfortable, like awkward. I was maybe like just like 13 or like a really young girl at that time, but I felt like Gurudev really saw me, and like saw right into my heart, like anything uncomfortable there, he saw everything. And, you know, I learned over the years that Gurudev's also seeing, you know, who we can be, who we can become. So I always feel grateful that I had that just one, I heard it's called a zap, Gurudev zaps you just by looking. So yeah, that was kind of the main physical experience. And then, so how I got Harinam from Gurudev after that is, it's kind of like a special story. It's kind of personal, but I like to share it because I feel like it's very amazing to see Gurudev's omniscience. I know there's so many stories like this, and over the years I've heard so many of them, and they're very just powerful and inspiring. So yeah, it was like I became kind of independent as a teenager. So that's also, I don't like to tell this story because that's the background. But I was like 17, just finishing high school, and I was kind of living very independently from my family. But I started getting these emails because somehow or other I was on the Harikatha mailing list, so Isha Prabhu's emails. And I got these emails that Gurudev was sick, and they were asking for medicine or suggesting people go to India. Yeah, the other amazing part about this is that, you know, even in the acharyas, when they leave, they're pulling devotees closer to them. So everything is completely an act of mercy, even their disappearance, you know. So for people like myself who are so unfortunate to not appreciate his, you know, presence and not take those opportunities when they were available. I think that summer before his disappearance, past times, I had an opportunity maybe to go to Gopinath Bhavan, and I didn't take it. There were some options to do that, but anyway, yeah, I heard Gurudev was sick, and I thought, I was even telling my friends like, oh, my guru, and they're like, yeah, you have to see your guru. And then I emailed I spoke to my parents, and I said like, oh, I told my father, if you go to India, please take me. And I don't know why I had that strong inspiration. I feel like I was very far away from bhakti, but I was also learning about the world at that time, like just almost like, could say conspiracy theories like people talk about now, but just understanding like there's, a lot of darkness in the world. I was like becoming more aware of the world and the reality and just politics. I don't know, a lot of things. And I thought, wow, Gurudev really is one special thing. There's such a pure, loving presence in this world is very rare. So yeah, I wrote my parents. I couldn't go at that time. I was just finishing school, and I was putting so much energy into that, so it wasn't really aligned. But I had that intention. I started chanting a lot more at that time. Just Gurudev was pulling me somehow by this pastime. It was his causeless mercy, and then I was chanting on my childhood japa, and then so yeah, that time passed. Things started changing in my life. I feel like I without knowing, a lot of positivity was coming. And then so after that, in February 2011, my father, on my birthday, he gave me a gift. I didn't see him so often. I was living in a separate place, and then he gave me this japa mala, and he explained this story that happened. So he went to India in 2010, and when I didn't go, but so this whole thing kind of happened. It felt like Radharani's mercy and Gurudev's, of course, Gurudev's mercy as a representative of Srimati Radhika. So Gurudev was, or my father was chanting his mantras in I think somewhere, maybe Radhakund or somewhere, chanting his Gayatri, and his things were on the bank. And a monkey stole his beads and jumped on the roof, and he couldn't get them back. So even some Brijvasis saw that happen. They were trying to get those things, and my father tried after he finished his mantras and tried to go, and he couldn't get it. So he thought, okay, better get some new beads. And then he thought of me because I wrote him, and he thought, oh, maybe I'll get some for her as well. And he got an extra pair for me and went. And then it was his last. Everyone only had those 5 minutes with Srila Gurudev, so he asked Gurudev, I just lost my beads. I've heard lots of stories with Gurudev and that he wasn't pleased with those kind of things happening. But anyway, he said, can you bless these again for me? So Gurudev did. And then he said, oh, I have this pair for my daughter. I don't know, it always makes me, it's just like, I feel like Guru really hears your heart, even if you're not, in front of him. So he said, my daughter has a desire to chant now. Can you bless these for her? Only time I cry for Gurudev is when I tell this story. That's why I like to tell it. But anyway, so yeah, so Gurudev just like nodded his head and gave his blessings and touched the beads. And I found out later that's all he was really doing at that time if people wanted initiation. So yeah, he blessed those beads and he gave his blessings, and my father later gave me those beads, and I remember just feeling them. He had dipped them in Radhakund, Shamakund, and everything. Had ghee, but the smell of those beads, it felt like Gurudev's like praying particles all over them. And I remember just like picking them up, and I would just hold them, and it felt like, wow, like an umbilical cord really to Srila Gurudev. And I just really understood that he could hear me in every moment. And so just after that time, I finished high school, and then yeah, I traveled with a lot of things changed because of that. My faith was, I just felt like Gurudev was really there, so it's interesting because for a lot of people that was, a difficult time, but somehow for me, it was when I was just coming to Gurudev. So it was a lot of meeting mood rather than separation, although it's like kind of simultaneous. But yeah, and then somehow or other Shamrani and all these, merciful Vaishnavas kept coming to Vancouver after that, or around the world. I think they were traveling a lot in 2011. And so they came here, and Shamrani came here, and my parents, loving guidance, kind of arranged for me to spend time with Shamrani for that summer. I joined her a little bit. I was very fortunate to have her association for about 2 months. And the whole time I was with her, she was always, because of that time period, just after Gurudev appeared to disappear, she was speaking so many affirmations of that, about Srila Gurudev, so many memories, just meeting all these Vaishnavas. I felt really like, even though he had just appeared to disappear, for me, he was always like appearing in my heart through all these remembrances, Shamrani and Vasanti's association. At that time, actually, Vasanti Didi just mentioned to me Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj as well. So I feel like that was Srila Gurudev's mercy. And, over the years, many years, I had struggles with like, who will I go to get Diksha from? There's some stories there that I won't get into because it's just another story, but always I was being affirmed by Shamrani Didi, Gurudev's your guru. Even in Trinidad, she kind of had this, I said, is this like, I just had some strange feeling in my heart. Like, did I really get Harinam from Gurudev? And she said, of course, like that's all he was doing at that time. And she sat me down and said, okay, pretend we're back in Trinidad. She said, promise to follow all these regulative principles and, repeat after me. And she was just trying to like encourage me to follow and have faith in, Srila Gurudev. So it was really sweet. But yeah, and I always knew I had to have Diksha as well. So it was kind of like a journey with that. But then, yeah, she always said, pray to Gurudev, Gurudev's your guru, and, with different association, finding out who I should continue to take shelter from, because we need that in spiritual life as well. And yeah, eventually, I was always listening to Srila Bharati Maharaj Harikatha as well online somehow. Even like my brother was saying, it was in Hindi for a long time before Madhapriya Prabhu started giving these excellent translations. Even other people were translating, but a lot of the time it was a lot of Hindi, and I think Karunamai would listen with me, but we never understood it, but we were just grateful because we knew it was Shabda Brahma. Yeah, and then in 2016, I think, 2017, yeah, I had some situations with Diksha. Like I really needed Diksha. Anyway, it's a whole story, but I really, I needed to hear like the pure mantras and everything. And I know from Srila Gurudev what the importance of a Mahabhagavat guru, what that is. And I was always praying, and I think my father said, maybe you have to wait like 40 years. But I knew Srila Bharati Maharaj was there, and I thought, okay, like, maybe he won't give initiation. It was kind of like that Narada Muni. I don't know what that pastime is, but yeah, like even if, you have to wait lifetimes to see Krishna, it's like, okay, at least there's a hope, But I still remember the day I found out. I was like grocery shopping, and I checked my phone, and I saw Srila Bharati Maharaj was giving Diksha, and I was so excited. I knew that was it for me. I was really grateful. And then eventually, yeah, I always had trouble going to India. I don't know what my Sukriti is. I've never been able to go there, actually, even though I was born in a devotee family. It's some kind of karma, or I'm just avoiding it somehow. And now it's like a big regret because it's not even a good time to go. But hopefully one day. But I knew this was kind of an anartha of mine or something, that I'm blocked from India. But I heard that he was, actually I had some time off, and I was going to go to see some family, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll go see Shamrani in Florida. And then I thought, oh, if they're there, maybe they can arrange a Skype for me to just quickly get initiated by Bharati Maharaj. And then I don't know, it was too short notice, so it didn't happen. And then Basanti wrote me later, like, oh, we're doing a Diksha, we're having an initiation ceremony. A bunch of people in Florida wanted, so can you come? And I kind of could. It was very difficult, but I took a few days, and I just flew all the way there and, received that. And I feel like that was, everything is Gurudev's mercy, just praying to Gurudev all the time. He arranges everything, everything you can want in the world. And then, getting those mantras from Srila Bharati Maharaj did feel like cooling, like moon rays. As soon as I got that, I felt like, oh, okay, my spiritual life is gonna be kind of okay, just to have Mahabhagavat Guru. Now the responsibility is on me, really, to follow, and but at least I know I'm safe in this shelter. So yeah, I don't know so much else to say. I know, like, just yesterday I was thinking, how I can glorify Srila Gurudev and what my remembrances are, and how maybe I'm not following bhakti so much. It's so easy to look around sometimes at our life and say, oh, I'm so weak, or this situation. Even aside from bhakti, we can complain about our lives, but his presence in my life here and there and through my family and everything. It's completely, everything I have is blessed because of Srila Gurudev. Everything that's auspicious for me, everything good. It's all like Gurudev's mercy, you know. I know for sure, like, you know, even just living in a beautiful place like Vancouver, sometimes it's like these auspicious things I know are just a side effect of bhakti. So I think even any good things I get bad reactions from for trying to enjoy or anything, it's all actually just because of Krishna's mercy, if that makes sense. And it's because of Srila Gurudev, you know. So I know Srila Bharati Maharaj, I'm not so good at quoting exact shastra or anything, but I know he said like gratitude really is bhakti, like true gratitude. Especially nowadays, people love to talk about gratitude and being grateful every day, but true gratitude is having bhakti. So with that, I know like just remembering this and realizing everything good I have as Gurudev's, then I just pray I can have some bhakti for Srila Gurudev and be able to really serve him and be able to really see that everything I have is his. I just heard recently from Siddhanti Maharaj, I have to ask him who exactly said it, but I think it was one disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He gave a class and he explained how actually, you know, we say we're Krishna Nityadas, but we're actually Guru Nityadas. That's like the summary, you know. So I hope to always remember that. I'm a servant of Srila Gurudev, and always, like my brother said, be close to his disciples. It's like an honor to be counted in that family. And I hope to always realize what that means and just take the foot dust of everyone who has his love in their heart, his god brothers, my Guru Maharaj, everyone. There's really nothing more auspicious in the whole world. The cause of everything is really Krishna. The reason everything exists is because this pastime, you know, like of Radharani, these associates, like it's like this thought I had yesterday, this whole world, you know, like all these things, it's all there just so Krishna's associates can kind of play their part in it, you know. So I was thinking like, you know, we have some, you know, in Vedic astrology, they talk about you can have a good guru plan, good Jupiter, so it means you can have a good guru, but really it's just all Krishna's creation, you know. He's the one who creates guru, he's the one who creates these planets, so it's all his merciful, really merciful creation and situation. So yeah, also I don't know, I was trying to think of Sastra to quote or something, but I'm just remembering the song Jai Jai Shri Guru, and that song always really spoke to me because I don't think I really ever asked for Harinam from Gurudev, but it says how, you know, even without asking, he voluntarily, you know, gave me Harinam. And I don't think I have so much Sukriti from my spiritual practice, which is not always so strong, but still, you know, he gives us all these books. There's so much seva always to do if we just ask for it and make ourselves available. And anyway, so speaking today felt like some seva. I felt a little unprepared, but I know my brother, he wanted to speak, you know, some glorification to Gurudev during his Vyas Puja, and we never had that opportunity. Then Karunamai asked us, and I thought, oh yeah, it's great. I love to tell this story. Leela, not to talk about myself, I find it quite embarrassing, but just to remember, you know, Gurudev's mercy is very powerful. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you for arranging this, and everyone who's listening. My most humble Dandavat pranams, and thank you so much.
Jari, thank you so much. I have to say, looking at your room, I'm a little jealous because I can see the sun beaming through the window, and I'm in London, and we don't get visited by the sun. It just misses us out completely. But it's giving you a nice halo, and
yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I have to say Vancouver is known to be also Raincouver, so it's usually raining. More just bright clouds, actually. In reality, it's kind of cloudy.
Well, Srila Gurudev gave you a very beautiful name, and you may have been a little tentative about speaking because you classified yourself as a junior, but I didn't feel anything junior in your heart today. I feel like you shared very fully and very beautifully. I can tell you're a very intelligent person. So I hope and I pray that you employ all that intelligence in forging an even deeper and more beautiful relationship with Srila Gurudev, because I think your life is going to be very auspicious. I loved what you said about in the company of Gurudev, his Sangha is it's very alive, you know? It's like, it's always amazing how Srila Gurudev actually always lived a perfect Vaishnava life, highly regulated, always super regulated, yet there was so much lightness around him and so much laughter and so much fun and so much teasing as well. And people really felt that they could be very natural with him and not put on any pretense, which is why being around him was so blessed all the time. And indeed, I also really felt present when you were talking about how, I'm not sure if you used the word flash of his blue eyes, but it felt like his blue eyes flashed at you in a glance. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22:54, it describes in the purport, if you get glanced on by a sadhu for one lava, then your life will be successful. And one lava, I think you got it right, is 1/11 of a second. So as long as you got past the 1/11 of a second, you're in a beautiful place. And you also mentioned about the auspiciousness you felt around in your life from Gurudev, and it's explained, and you really feel it actually, is as you enter into a relationship with Gurudev, and like you said, the umbilical cord to Srila Gurudev through your beads, we don't really experience karma anymore. We experience kripa. What looks like karma is actually, he's bestowing exactly the right, he's using our karma, but for our kripa, to develop our relationship with Srila Gurudev and ultimately with Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. So as Bhakti-Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, the environment is always favorable. So it's up to us to see the favorability in the environment, whether it's good or bad. I think sometimes it's harder to see the favorability when things are good, actually. Sometimes it's easier when it's bad. The hard thing is to be really on the present when things are so-called good. But there's no good or bad, there's just favorable for bhakti, actually. So thank you for plucking up the courage. I hope that you felt that the Shravan of the audience was benign and sympathetic. I know everybody here always wants our speakers to smile and be happy and be very, feel very connected in their Pushpanjali. So I thank you very much, you and your brother, for beaming in from Vancouver. I also thank very much Karuna Mai for suggesting that you speak. That was very sweet. And I'm glad you have each other as well. That's very auspicious to have, to be brother and sister as devotees is very auspicious. Although I know, brothers and sisters always annoy each other and all that. I know that, but, aside of that, it's beautiful that you're both devotees. So we're going to finish up now. We're going to go back to our very own Chitaka Bird back in the UK, to Nalini Didi, who's going to sing a bhajan, and then we'll close the program. Hopefully she's there. She hasn't fallen asleep or gone somewhere. Are you there, Nalini? I may need to call her. Calling Nalini Didi. I'll give her a little tinkle.
I'm here.
Fantastic.
I'm here.
Where are you? Can't see you.
I'm here.
Okay. Please, sing us out of the program. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna sing on page 170. Radha Krishna bol bol bolo re sabai. Radha Krishna bol bol bolo re sabai. Radha Krishna bol bol bolo re sabai. Shiksha diya sapna diya piche niche gonitai. Shiksha diya sapna diya নিচে নিচে গণিতায় রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল বল বলো রে সবাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল বল বলো রে সবাই নিচে মায়ার বসে যাচ্ছ বেশে খাচো হাবু ডুবু ভাই মিছে মায়ার বসে যাচ্ছ বেশে খাচো হাবু ডুবু ভাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই জীবা কৃষ্ণ দাস রে বিশ্বাস বলে তো আর দুঃখ নাই কৃষ্ণ বলবে যাবে পুলক হবে যাবে আখি বলি তাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো সঙ্গে চলো এই মাত্রা ভিক্ষা চাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো সঙ্গে চলো এই মাত্রা ভিক্ষা চাই জয় সকল বিপদ ভক্তি বিনোদ বলেন যখন ও নাম গায় জয় সকল বিপদ ভক্তি বিনোদ বলে যখন ও নাম গায় রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো রে সবাই হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে हरे राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Thank you, Nalini. Your bhajan and the beautiful offerings tonight inspire me to write a little poem while you were singing. So I'm going to share that before we go, if I can read my own writing. It goes, the sand underneath my feet is soft, like Mahaprabhu's molten heart. The particles are still a little warm, like his generous, effulgent smile. The breeze cools my neck, like his mercy in this burning world of Maya. The birds tweet and sing merrily, evoking the endless joy that springs from his heart. The villagers pray earnestly, filling the ether with magical mantras. My mind is soothed by the cool moon of his merciful face. Never leave me. Never allow me to leave you. Hold me and take me across the tumultuous river of Maya and forgive my rascal heart. Hare Krishna. Dandava pranams.
That was really nice. That was really, really beautiful.
Inspired by your bhajan. Haribol. Dandava pranams.
Haribol.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us from whichever part of the world you're in. This has been beautiful, doing our first evening program in the UK. As I said, next week we'll be back at midday. Hare Krishna, Dandava pranams. And a big thank you to the team, Shamasundari in Holland, Yoshidara in the UK, and for those that have been helpful arranging the speakers like Karuna Mai and Manini Radha Didi, and Chandramukhi arranges the speakers sometimes too. We're very, very grateful. Hare Krishna, Dandava pranams.